Next, what we're trying to do now is to go on to the award of the IFTM medal, and I would like to invite Professor Santiago Mascoma, who's current president of the IFTM, to read the citation, and then my colleague, Dr. Vaughan Southgate, will make some remarks.
Thank you, Russ. Ladies, gentlemen, David. Professor David Rawlinson undertook his Bachelor of Science degree at the University of Cardiff and then a PhD at Imperial College London with Professor Liz Canning. Throughout his studies, he maintained a fundamental interest in evolution and how animals, especially parasites, adapt to the challenges of their life cycles. Upon completion of his doctorate, which focused on the biology of mammalian coccidia and studies on enzyme variation within Eimeria, he joined the Experimental Taxonomy Unit at the Natural History Museum, London. Initially working as a population genetist with the then director, Dr. Christopher Wright, David broadened his interest in parasitology to later become a foremost world expert on characterization of schistosomes and their intermediate snail host, together with his long-term museum colleague and friend, Dr. Vaughan Southgate. Throughout his research, David has been a pioneer in application of new methods to characterize phenotypic and genetic diversity and also foster a multidisciplinary approach. This was firmly based on direct observations made in the field while undertaking numerous missions to Africa. To date, he has published over 270 peer-reviewed manuscripts, and even during the last year has been authored to over 10, and has highlighted the outbreak of schistosomiasis in Corsica and has coordinated 2 special issues in the journal Infectious Diseases of Poverty. During his career, there have been many highlights, which include award of scientific medals from the Linnean Society, presidents of learned societies, the British Society of Parasitology and the World Federation of Parasitologists, directing and steering academic journals such as the Advances of Parasitology, also coordinating the MOD Symposia very successfully within the ENOPS, as well as guiding the careers of others through teaching, supervision, and mentoring. You will find many here today, as well as several lifelong friends, to have benefited from David's kindly approach to collaboration and sharing of his knowledge. In recent years, David has helped to define the agenda for elimination of schistosomiasis, and in recognition of his international standing, he has been invited to direct the Global Schistosomiasis Alliance. This draws together several international agencies to promote concerted action on disease control, and we are particularly fortunate to have David's wisdom to facilitate. As a family man, David is blessed with a loving wife, Liz, the secretary of the Linnean Society, and 3 adult children, Poppy, Tom, and Charlotte, now with a growing list of grandchildren. His outside interests are many: a first-class chess player at very high club level standard, and a lover of classical and live music, being an Eric Clapton fan in particular. He is also a keen gardener, tending his greenhouse and vegetable patch with care and delighting in its season produce. David is also an amateur photographer of local repute and a passionate wildlife explorer, having made many trips to see the splendors of the natural world, from jungles in the Amazon to seascapes in the Southern Ocean. He typically shares these experiences with top quality photographs and exciting tales of adventure. While we celebrate over 20 or 40 years of international research, it is premature to say what will be his next interest or where will he go next. For there are still many choices ahead, but we can be sure that David will foster the multidisciplinarity of parasitology, always at the top of his agenda. Thank you.
Delighted, thrilled, absolutely honoured to receive this wonderful award from the International Federation of Tropical Medicine. It's this very special to me to actually receive it from Professor Mascoma, who we've had a long history. These people who work on fast solar occasionally talk to the schistosome people, and we have started integrating at various levels. To receive a medal like this is great for me as an individual, but I must say all my work has been teamwork. I've had a tremendous team, both past and present, at the Natural History Museum, so thank you to all those people. I've always had a multidisciplinary approach and tried to collaborate with the best scientists in the world working on different aspects, and it's a great pleasure to see many of them here today. And also, we work very closely with lots of different colleagues in the developing world, in Africa especially. Sometimes life's not so easy, and I'm pleased that Vaughan kept his stories to the ones that he did. But I would also like to acknowledge all my colleagues and partners in endemic areas, especially in Africa. If I can still just have a few words, I'd like to thank the British Society for Parasitology for hosting this event. When Russ started talking about it, he said, "We think about doing a kind of a festive thing for you." And I mentioned that to a colleague, and he said, "I thought you had to die before you had one of those." So fortunately not. But I'd like to thank the Society. Like Roy, I did my very first talk at a spring meeting. That was a scary moment, almost as scary as this, but nevertheless, it was a great start to a scientific career. I would sincerely like to thank all of you here, many friends and colleagues, people that we've worked with. Some have travelled around the globe, from Australia, from South Africa, just to be here today, and that means a lot. I'd like to thank Russ and Bonnie especially for making this happen, and for the Society for bringing together a great meeting for me, because I think it does celebrate our parasitology research, the multidisciplinarity of our research. As someone coming to the tail end of a career, I'm not finished yet, as someone said, there's a hell of a lot to do still. There's a lot of work to be done. I was just back from Africa a couple of weeks ago, and there's a tremendous amount of work and effort needed to get these drugs to people, to understand transmission, to understand biology. We didn't talk about, touch on drug resistance there with Roy, but lots of things are now happening in the external world, and we must work with our colleagues to do something about it. So thank you all very much, and thank you, Russ.